Hello, baby gorillas! And what have we got just now? I think there's something happening in here and they don't tell me. We've got three different kid political journals like the Telegraph, the Daily Record, all under PLC, Reach PLC. And they don't tell anybody else that's not in their wee gang or that one company to get other takes on it. So we've got three different periodicals from the same company, basically giving us three takes that has been governed by whoever owns Reach PLC. And I think we really need to find out and have established who is the shareholders of Reach PLC, so that we're not getting three takes of the one company and we open it up to other Scottish-based and Scottish-owned companies, so that we've got a larger take rather than just one company dominating, or a lot of London companies dominating what the information that goes out actually is from the Scottish Parliament. But they don't want that. The five parties in here don't want that. They've got a symbiotic and cosy relationship with these periodicals, and they don't want anything to spoil that. So we don't get any fresh ideas. It's all just the same repackaged shit in another shit sandwich. So I had 7 likes and 5 views yesterday. I don't know how you're doing that. Obviously, we know that YouTube and ABC are mucking about with the channel. We already know that. The worrying thing for them is, as I said, we're setting up our own political party. We will change the rules to suit ourselves, and any American tech companies might get fined and punished and we increase our taxes. So you keep mucking about, USA. So I thought I would come closer and talk about this sign here and why it's offensive. Why it's offensive to somebody who's indigenously Scottish. Why this is colonialism. And what does it mean, and what Big Fat Alex Salmon keeps speaking in Irish for, I don't know. But this, for me, is very offensive. And if we're going to decolonise, we'll have to scrap both of those signals, or both of those words, or all of those words off of the Scottish Parliament. Whatever do you mean? Are you talking wacky again, David? Are you talking wacky? Do you want to put wacky up there? No. There's a lot of things, obviously, because I am historically from here, and I'm not just talking about one generation. We need equality to get rid of white straight men from in here. I think it was working better when it was white straight men in here. Seems to have gone completely loopy since we've decided to DEI it and let people who have not got any longevity in the country then run the country. Doesn't make very much sense to me to ethnically cleanse our own indigenous population. Hence why I'm pointing at this sign. So on this side we've got the Scottish Parliament, which is in German de facto. People who might not understand, and just because the situation and things are the way that they are just now, doesn't mean they've always been that way. English, it comes from Anglish, and that is of the Angles, who are Germans, basically de facto Germans. Just like Angleland, the land of the Angles, which is now England, is now called Angleland, but it's actually, we all see it as Southern Celtic Britain. And this is in Gaelic. Gaelic is just a dialect of Irish. So we've got English and Irish, neither of which is indigenous to Scotland. They might be here and have been here for a long period of time, which I do agree, but they are not indigenous. One's Irish and one's Germanic, neither of which are indigenous to Scotland. So what is indigenous to Scotland, Dave? Well, the Germans, when they invaded, the Anglo-Saxons, the Angles and the Saxons, came up with a very clever wheeze and called Welsh, which is actually called Brittonic Welsh, which means foreign. But the people who were foreign were the Germans, because they came from Germany. Hence why, though I think only 40% of people in England are actually Germanic, and some of them have actually originally British Celtic ancestry, a little bit of that. It doesn't look like it was completely wiped out, and there was intermarriage down there. Obviously, the further south you go, the more Brittonic people are in the north of what is now called England, but they're actually Britons and not ethnically English, but they're culturally English now. So their indigenous Brittonic language, hence why it's called Brittonic and not English, has been lost to them, and they've been anglicised, even though they're not English. So I'm not English. I don't claim to be of Angling descent. So this is very rude. So really, if we were decolonising, we would get rid of the English part and the Irish part, the German part and the Irish part, because neither of these are indigenous to Scotland. Not only is this place is called Godobin, not Edinburgh, Edinburgh or whatever it is the foreigners say. This is called Godobin, which was what they call Welsh foreign, but which was actually Brittonic. And Brittonic is the language of this area. Brittonic was spoken from Cornwall up to, I would actually think that the Picts were probably speaking Brittonic rather than Irish or Gaelic, whatever you choose, but Gaelic's just a dialect of Irish. So to decolonise, we would have to reintroduce Brittonic. We've got Gaelic classes in Glasgow. I don't really know why we're teaching Irish in Britain, or a dialect of Irish. Surely we should be teaching Brittonic, hence why it's called Brittonic. The Britons were in this part of the UK long before anybody else turned up, whether it be the Germans or the Irish. They should be fitting into the customs, and if we are going to decolonise, we should have Brittonic, and we should be speaking Brittonic and not be culturally anglicised. So we have to decolonise now. We have to stop thinking that we are actually Germanic when we're not. And we have to have respect for our own traditions, our own history. This is what's getting pumped through the university. So we have to understand that from Cornwall right up to at least between the 4th and the 5th, I reckon it went further up. Maybe in the West Coast, I don't know how long they were speaking Irish for. Obviously that get mixed in with probably a bit of Norse as well, from the Norwegians. But that came in. But the indigenous language, to decolonise Scotland, we have to start teaching Brittonic, hence why it's called Brittonic. Now, could you be Brittonic and still support Scottish independence? Yes, you could. Brittonic is the culture as well as the whole of the island being Celtic Brittonic. And all the other inputs from Irish, there's nothing wrong with the input of Gaelic. Obviously Gaelic is a Celtic language as well. It's a P, I think P and Q, I can't remember which. But they are. And obviously people in what's now called England, which is really part of Germany, a lot of these people aren't Germans. So I don't know which one of you would be actually Germanic, but you would have to do your 23andMe to actually find out if you are ethnically British or you're ethnically German, English thereby. And a lot of you would probably be shocked that you're probably British rather than Germanic. So that's and some of those that are Germanic have got an element of Brittonic in you. So that is so to decolonise, we have to get rid of this and put up a Brittonic sign, something in British. Hence why it's called Brittonic, and it's certainly not Welsh as in foreign. If anything's going to be foreign, it would be called English. We should start calling English Welsh, or even Irish, Gaelic Welsh, because both are non-indigenous to this country. The indigenous language, hence why it's called Brittonic, is Brittonic. But let's talk about other ground zero ideologies, and hence why both the the communists, the National Socialists, and also the Islamists all want a ground zero based around their daft ideology. When China was taken over by the communists, they smashed, apart from murdering multiple more people than the National Socialists. National Socialism obviously coming from Marxism. Hitler was a communist in 1919. So obviously they want a ground zero. The Nazis wanted a ground zero because it's a strain. National Socialism is not the same, but is a strain of Marxism. That fascism was a strain of what's the word? Was a strain of anarcho-syndicalism. So Hitler was Mussolini was an anarcho-syndicalist and a socialist as well. So these people are both socialists. So that's basically what the situation is. They both came out of almost like an anti-fascist type organisation. But when the Islamists got into Syria, they started smashing the beautiful murals. And also when China was taken over by the communists, they started destroying the culture to get it to the ground zero as well. So both of these have a messianic ideology where they want to destroy the culture of either the culture that they've invaded or the culture that they've actually taken over, in the case of the Chinese Communist Party, where they destroyed artifacts just like the Islamists did. And you can see with this, this is a ground zero from the indigenous Brittonic and calling Edinburgh Godobbin. So I'm not quite sure why they're all walking behind me, but anyway, for 5 minutes of fame. So the Godobbin is what Edinburgh is actually called, and that's why we have now got a disconnect between a parliament that's in German and Irish and not in what would be Brittonic, which was the original people here, and no respect for the indigenous population, no Brittonic lessons in an area where the Britons were actually lived for generations and raised. So this is decolonise the Scottish Parliament and get our children learning Brittonic, hence why it's called Britain, and Brittonic was taught from Cornwall probably up into for the Picts as well. I would suspect the Picts were probably Brittonic speakers rather than Gaelic speakers. That's my thoughts. Maybe later when the Picts and the Scots amalgamated. The Picts and the Scots amalgamated, that there was a crossover, but there's no respect for the indigenous population or the indigenous people, because in the indigenous languages, which is neither of these. But baby gorillas,